welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about When Evil Lurks and the Vourdalak, which are two foreign language films in the horror genre which look at basically older curses that go through society. It's not the modern, idea of serial killers or slasher movies. These are like old school horrors that have gone through generations and are basically myths that are either made up or come from older stories, basically. So the Vourdalak, directed by Adrian Burke, actually comes from the Alexei Tolstoy story novella, The Family of the Vourdalak. Yep, I managed to make a total mess of that one. And Evil Lurks is directed by Damien Rugna, and his idea is based on demonic possession and how it affects, societies that are much more believers in the supernatural. And in both cases, the supernatural is taken as real. It's like, in these worlds, the supernatural exists and it affects people's day-to-day life, and you have to be aware of where the dangers are. So so both are set in the countryside and are basically dealing with dangers that a lot of people would not believe in. But they're both excellent films. Neither of them are flawless, but both of them are excellent. Now, When Evil Lurks is set in Argentina. It's an Argentinian film, and it's the demonic possession one. And basically, it starts off with a bang, and it just keeps going. It's much more faster paced than the Vourdalak. Vourdalak is very deliberately paced, but When Evil Lurks does have moments of real shock early, and it does create a momentum as we go forward. I think the difference between the films is When Evil Lurks has a much better first half than the second, while I think the Vourdalak has a much better second half than the first. But they're both terrific films. It's just that both of them have one part of the film that's stronger than the other, really. So When Evil Lurks starts off with in this Argentinian farmland where there's a farm owner, but there's also different farmers who are renting and who are working on land close by the richer farms, and it's basically a country where there's rumours of possession, demonic possession, curses and things like that. And there's one night two brothers hear these who are living the family farm and working it, hear these noises. They say, okay, we'll go to find out what it is, tomorrow morning. We're not going to go at night because going at night would be stupid. It's just not something you want to do. So, yeah, they agree, we'll do that. They go out next day to find a torn up body and now all these mechanisms, and they follow clues to this. That's basically this house that's broken down, and they know the person who's in the house, and they say we've been following the signs of a murder taking place. We'll just try to investigate it, and we're going to call the police. And it turns out the son of this woman is possessed. When they go inside, he smells awful. It's big and bloated. It's just this horrific possessed creature that basically, if you kill it, it'll spread to other things. So you can't kill it. It has to be released from its curse. The person has to be released from the curse of the demon. And so they go and tell the police, who say we'll have to bring someone in when they're available. They might not be available for months. Well, basically when this creature's there, the land's going to be cursed. So they tell the rich guy, who's also mad about the whole thing. He doesn't like them very much. He definitely didn't like one of the brothers. And they're looking at the situation as like, okay, what do we do? Well, we can take the possessed creature, drive him miles away, and drop him off, and just come back, and hopefully the curse will lift if he's physically a long way away, but we don't kill him. So they do that, but there's a accident at the when they're taking him away, and the creature falls out the truck, and they don't know where it is, but it's like, okay, we're still hundreds of miles away from where we were. Let's just go back home, clean everything out, burn their clothes. We'll probably be fine. And it's someone else's problem. This is apparently the worst thing you could possibly do, and it leads to much worse circumstances. The kind of possessed creature is loose, and it's after that area, and it's after those people in that area, and everything they've done pretty much leads to a situation where people are getting possessed, and things are very difficult. So I'm not going to say what happens, but loved ones are the targets of, in a lot of folklore, it's who you love or who you're with is the target of a lot of the horror, because a lot of these horror stories are written when at a time where basic people were basically small communities. Unless you lived in a city, a lot of times it's small communities, and small communities where you get a lot more tales of horror. And of course, who would, if someone became possessed or became a demon, who would attack their loved ones? And that's what the film that's the horror of the film. What happens when your loved one is possessed and how visceral it can be. This is like the best. This is so much better than any Exorcist sequel for possession. This is like so much more brutal. And it escalates because no matter what these people do, it turns out not to be the right move, because there's no right move. It's just like there's a prescribed way of doing things, and if that was even a little bit wrong, all hell's going to break loose. And the reason why the police are actually aware of possessions is because there's been outbreaks before, and there's been a lot of tragedy, and it's like, and this thing doesn't care about who it hurts and who gets brutalized. It's just horrible, some of the things that happen to people. It just really is, and there's like just horrific things that happen to lots and lots of characters, and there's some things you wouldn't believe to put in a film. It's that brutal, and it's just wonderful, but it is just like horrible. It's like the most extreme version of possession film you'll see, you know. So yeah, it's highly recommended. I'm just trying not to give away that much about the film, because you kind of want to experience it. I mean, the downside of the film is the first half is so strong once it gets going that the second half, well, it's giving you more information and a lot of developments, and it's confirming certain things. It can't help but be more plotty rather than visceral, so it's not quite as engaging, even though there's lots of really good moments in it. And there's lots of things in here, like how children are much easier for the demon to get to, and what its limitations are, and what it's about, and the idea that the main demon that stinks like hell just smells horrible, and it's basically dirtying itself all the time, and the smell of the feces are all over the place, and it's just a nightmare. And it just has this kind of visceral sense of just the horror of unnatural creatures is much more locked down in this film. And as the films, when you find out more about the brothers and with the past and what's happened with them, and the various failures in life, and like one of the brothers has a son who's autistic, is heavily autistic, and things like that, and just all the limitations they've got in their lives, and it sort of makes it much more brutal when they're trying to deal with this horrible situation. But it is a wonderful film. I'd highly recommend it, but you need a strong stomach, really. The Vourdalak is a more traditional tale. It's based on a Tolstoy story, and you know, if you've watched the Mario Bava film Black Sabbath, you'll have seen this story done by Boris Karloff. But it's been done before a few more times since then. But this is the most recent version. This was shot in 16mm, so the visual quality of the film isn't amazing. It's just shot on low budget where they can. They have decent actors in it, but it is shot, it's a stylized film, and it's done on a low budget, where they use locations and lighting and atmosphere rather than big special effects. The actual creature, the Vourdalak, is a puppet. But if you're used to films with puppets in them, it doesn't matter. It's obviously a puppet, but it's well done. And in truth, when people become vampires basically in films, if they've become like wizened vampires, they always look too healthy. No matter what they do, they always look just a person in makeup. This thing is unnatural creature within this midst. So they use a puppet to suggest something different from the norm. So it's just another version of what you can do. And if you go with it, you're fine. If you're like, no, that's obviously a puppet, we can't do this, well, you're not going to like the film. But it's a low budget film, so it's not for everybody anyway, so who cares? Again, this film understands the myth, the idea that a lot of these myths came from places that were ignored by the most civilized version of society. The people who lived in farms, who did not go to the city and engaged in all of these delights of the city, and did not, viewed as backwards people who were not worthy of, civilization, really. So, into the midst of this society comes this young man who's basically a messenger to from French society to the armies. He has to go in with a message. He gets lost. His carriage is attacked, and now he's lost, and he's told by a woman, go to this place, the guy will give you a horse, and it'll get you back to where you're going to go. That's probably the best route for you. So he follows instructions and ends up finding this family. It turns out the woman giving instructions was one of the family members. But it tells you she likes messing with them. She likes messing with rich people. She can just let them do herself, but she never bothers. Then so basically, he's like saying, as a horse, I can, once I'm at the place, I'll send money back and I'll make sure you're compensated. And the guy says, okay, I'll go and get your horse tomorrow, but I'm busy just now. The guy says, that's fine. But there's a lot of tension because there's this rich guy in the midst of these poor farmers, and they're worried because they've been attacked by the Turks in the area, because it's all taking place in Eastern Europe. They've been attacked by the Turks. There's a lot of Turkish bandits in there. It's a difficult life basically, and it's ignored by most society. And to find out the father has left 8 days ago to go and kill the leader of the Turkish brutes, basically, the guys attacking them. Now the father leaves instructions. If he's not back in 8 days, he's dead. If he returns after 8 days, do not let him in, because he'll be a Vourdalak, which is basically a vampire in that area. So he's like, if I don't get back in 8 days, do not let me in. I'm going to be cursed. Do not deal with it. Just don't invite me into the house. And of course, he arrives on that 8th day, exactly on the turn of when it goes from safe to dangerous. Because the family sentimental says, we can't leave him out there, he's obviously injured. Let's take him back in the house, even though he's warned them, do not do that. And he looks awful and he looks terrible, but he's also a frail old man before this. And and he was obviously the patriarch of this house before that. But now he's a vampire. But they're kind of aware of the danger, but they don't want to admit what's going on. And it's slowly watching this aristocrat watching these people be destroyed by this curse of this vampire slowly over the course of the film. It first starts in the young boy, the son of the oldest son and his wife. Then it becomes the curse of all the others. The young boy drinks the blood of his mother. It becomes this constant upping of the family being destroyed internally by this foul creature. And they make it sound like, yeah, these creatures smell, they're awful, horrible things. They're just, you just want to get away from them, they're horrible. It's not sexy vampires, it's like, ugh. which is how the vampire myth started. It's about dead folk coming back to life, and the stink of them, and the smell of them, and they're corrupted, and their souls have been corrupted, and it's like, you don't want anything to do with them. They're a danger to you. That's when vampires started. That's why vampires were villains. There was the unnatural return from death, and the kind of clinginess of death and all the smells of death come with them. And they're a natural life now, and it's just this feeling throughout the film of things getting worse. There's a younger brother who's very feminine and who's not viewed as worthy of the family, and that's dealt with. There's a young middle sister who had an affair with a travelling person, and the travelling person was murdered by the father, and she's damned to be stuck in the farm and she can't escape. You have the older guy who's trying to live up to his father's wishes, and he's just become a brute, and he knows he's not quite up to what his father wants. In this sense of this dysfunctional family and all the kind of difficulties it's handing down to the next generation, and just this sense of a family that's already in problems before the supernatural elements attach itself to them. And it's a wonderful film. It's just, it's not as visually astonishing as the Mario Bava film, because you can't really beat Bava for atmosphere. But what it does have, and that film had Boris Karloff as the vampire, this one has just the strangeness of the puppet and the idea that everyone's taking it seriously, even though the actor knows it's a puppet. It's shot in 16mm, so it has to use the visuals of the area and actually create an atmosphere just from the natural world. But you do get a sense of an older culture that the abstract can't understand, but he's intrigued by, and he's very intrigued by the middle sister, and he's attracted to her, and he doesn't know how to deal with people because he comes from a rich family, and there's this sense of he's doing things wrong, and he's just not good at this kind of thing. So he's a very flawed central character who can be relied upon not to do the right thing and can make lots of mistakes. So that's one thing I think is both films share, the fact that their protagonists are not flawless in any way, and their actions do affect how the spread of the supernatural element comes about, which makes it scarier. Because the thing is, they do stuff that everyone would do in that situation. Like in a lot of horror films, people are naturally brave, which takes you out of it slightly. If they're a bit more flawed, like most people are, and still are brave, that becomes more intriguing. That makes you more on their side. And it's something horror films from America sometimes don't do. Sometimes they make a certain character a bit too good to be true. And that, to me, that's alienating for a horror film. You can still make them heroic, but you can make them heroic with flaws that they have to overcome, that they can plausibly overcome in these kind of movies. That I think it makes these kind of films work more. So both these films are terrific. You should see both of them. They're both like low budget films. They're easy to find now in streaming. They're both available on Amazon and iTunes. Neither of them are expensive. They're both on sale during the Halloween period. I don't think they're going to be that expensive after that either. So yeah, I would recommend both of them. They're both wonderful. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you later. Bye.